Hello, and welcome to Starting Points, where one thing leads to another. Last time, I was sharing books by Gerald Durrell, and I read a little something at the end from his book called Menagerie Manor, and it pertained to a black gibbon with white hands and singing that she would do to wake them up every morning. David Attenborough, in Life on Earth, a book of 13 chapters, chapter 12 is A Life in Trees, and there's a gibbon. And I want to share that with you. One thing leads to another. The gibbons, also fruit eaters. Oh, now that refers to where he was talking about the orangs are fruit eaters, and being so big, have to find considerable quantities of it every day to sustain themselves. So they have to range over a fair-sized territory. And that, of course, goes for lots of animals, either not only tree-dwelling ones, but ground-living ones, have their circuits and looking for food, and that's a activity that is pretty consuming. The gibbons, also fruit eaters, of which there are two main kinds, like orangs, and several species. Well, there must be, because here's one that's not black and doesn't have white hands. And his photograph was taken from the film that they did for each chapter. This one, A Life in Trees, featured animals living in the trees. And this one hand is holding the gibbon suspended in air, while this hand sort of can look at something there. And I'm almost sure that this foot is in front of that branch. Not that the branch goes through it, but I'm not 100% positive. So I don't know exactly how much this particular gibbon weighs, but I know in my head, I think I know, that a gorilla or an orangutan, both big animals, this branch couldn't support either one of them. So let's see. The gibbons, also fruit eaters, of which there are two main kinds and several species, have followed a very different line of development. Increasing size may have been the stimulus that made apes start to swing beneath branches, but the ancestral gibbons subsequently exploited the new style of locomotion to the full by becoming smaller again. In the end, they developed into even more accomplished acrobats than any balancing, tree-running monkey. A gibbon in motion in the treetops is one of the most glorious sights the tropical forest has to offer. With a supple grace that is breathtaking, it hurls itself 9 or 10 meters across space, grabbing an isolated branch and swinging itself off again in another dazzling swoop through the air. The arms that enable it to do this are as long as its legs and torso together. So long, in fact, that on the rare occasions that it comes down to the ground, they can't be used as props or crutches, like the chimpanzee would use its hands to support it on 4 points, or the gorilla does that as well, their knuckles and all. But have to be held above its head out of the way. Its versatile grasping primate hands have also become specialized at the cost of some of their manipulative abilities. Swinging at gibbon speed requires that the hands be used as hooks that can be latched swiftly onto a branch and then detached almost instantaneously. Thumbs get in the way, so they have moved down towards the wrist and become much reduced in size. In consequence, a gibbon can't pick up small things from the ground with its thumb and forefinger. Instead, it has to cup its hand and gather the object up with a sideways sweep. Because they are small, there is usually enough fruit in a tree to satiate several of them. So it is practical for them to travel together, and they live in tightly knit families. A pair is accompanied by up to 4 of their offspring of varying ages. Every morning, the family sings a chorus. The male starts with 1 or 2 isolated and tentative hoots. Others join in. The group launches into an ecstatic song, and finally, the female takes over with a rising peal that gets faster and faster and higher until it becomes a high trill of a tonal purity that no human soprano could ever challenge. Well, I hope that gives you a little taste of the writing of David Attenborough. He's, of course, noted for the movies that were made. For instance, with this book, there were 13 hour-long movies, 1 for each chapter. And I remember taking our oldest when he was 10 and the next son when he was 8 to see those videos. They were shown 1 video a week on a Sunday afternoon in the Newcomb Theater, which was part of the Victoria Natural History Museum, BC Museum. And we were all, myself included, entranced by those films, and certainly added to our knowledge of the variety of life on the planet. In fact, this first chapter is called The Infinite Variety. Well, thanks for joining me. Until next time, bye for now. By jeepers, I hope I've done it. I hope I turned on the different things. Let's turn it on.